What's up, world? It's Taylor Shead and Khiry Kemp from Stemuli. We're recording a Stemulated on Easter Sunday. Happy Sunday, y'all. We kind of consider this like Sunday service. It's been a few weeks since we talked to you guys. And every time we're quiet, that means we're up to something, we're cooking. So I've been to Senegal. I was in Senegal for like 9 days. And yes, I was working over there because that's what we do. But today, what we wanted to talk about, we were so excited to come online to talk to you about the work that we're doing with the league, our student community, where, just as a reminder, we decided that we wanted to start shaping and basically involving the leaders of tomorrow, students, in everything that we do at Stimuli. So we created the league. We welcomed some MVPs in. We've got a little under 50 MVPs in that league today. And yesterday we did something game changing, and we just want to bring you guys into it. So I'm going to set the stage, and I'm going to toss it to you, Khiry, to talk a little bit more about what we did. So every week over the last like 6 weeks, we have been deep in product iterations. For those of you following us on LinkedIn, as you know, we said 12-week, 12 iterations, and we are like a little over half that mark. And so what does that mean? We took up this strategy called 6 Days to Air, where our team was challenged to produce a prototype or a product feature that we could put in the hands of our league students. We could have them utilize the technology on Saturdays, give us immediate feedback on what they loved, what they hated, and how we can improve. Mondays, we were sharing those insights with our product team and went off to the races to iterate and incorporate their feedback in that. So at this point in time, 7 weeks into those rapid cycle iterations alongside these students, we decided that we wanted to take things to the next level. So typically, just so y'all know how these weeks work, like we dump the insights and information to our product team on a Monday. They're developing all week, and we're doing our thing on the business side. And at some point during that week, whether it's Wednesday or Thursday, we start deciding like what's being tested this week. Well, in true Khiry and Felix fashion, the folks that are really helping like run the league and operate the league, Thursday comes, Friday comes, and y'all are like, yo, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we testing? Are we going to test like this new thing we did? And I'm like, hold on. Let inspiration strike. And inspiration hadn't struck me yet, right? And so I was like, y'all just hold up. Put it on me first. I'm going to come up with what these kids are learning this week and what we're putting in their hands. And I basically kept telling y'all, wait. I'm not done yet. I need some more time. And it was 1 a.m. early Saturday morning, and I started typing in Slack. It was probably the longest Slack message I've ever sent. But the inspiration that like hit me in that moment is like, all right, it's time to take the league to the next level. In a league, it is not a league unless you have teams. And so basically, the way we set this thing up is we met with the kids on Saturday morning. We had about 5 or 6 of our team members that we started saying, okay, if I'm the CEO of Stimuli in the league, we call that the commissioner, right? Like the role of kind of like the head coach, the person that's out front, that's setting the mission of the organization, that's setting the results that the organization wants to see. And then it's the voice and the face of like that team and that org, right? And so I'm like, hey kids, this is who I am. As we go through these different people, you see what role resonates with you. So then we got to talk about the operators, like the Felixes and the Khyrys of the world that take my vision and they have to like make it happen, right? Whether it's building systems and processes that by any means necessary, their job is to get the results done that I, as the commissioner or the head coach, has set. And then we introduced the role of like Renee, who's our head of communications and commercialization. And we're like, hey, you have the CEO who's outward facing, but the person that's doing the research and the analysis behind the scenes on what message will resonate with the community, whether that's an internal community or the external community, that was the role of the commercializer. Eventually it's the person that's like going to be negotiating sponsorship deals and bringing some money into the team just because they're a great storyteller. Then we talked a little bit about roles like Vicky at our company, and we called it the head of player personnel. It's the person that's like the glue that's keeping everything together, right? So we basically said the role of this individual is support. It's a helper, but without that individual that's helped setting the vibes and the culture and the friendliness of the company can't exist. And then I think the last role we talked about was a visionary engineer. And we
Yep.
talked about people at our company, right, that can like understand an idea before it's been crystallized. And they can have the vision to see something that's not built yet, and they have the engineering capacity to make it happen. So we started talking about people like our head of product and like Dr. Matt Cummins, right, who's like our head of AI. And so now that we've set the stage for how we introduce the concept of different roles, the TLDR is we took the same roles that people play at Stemuli and we applied it to if you were running a sports league or a team, the critical roles you would need in order to make that team happen. So, Khiry, swinging it over to you, like what were your impressions of like the day? What did we do? What inspired you from this conversation with the students?
So, seeing the way that they reacted to this challenge, right? Because previously they had been working on product feedback, they had been helping us in the 6 days to air cycle of saying, how can we build something that students love, right? How do we build something that just you can't put it down? And so they've been giving us really great feedback for that. And so when we flipped it and said, now we're going to take the league to the next level, right? There was that moment where they were trying to process what was going on. And then as soon as they found out and they're like, oh, we get to like be leaders like at a whole new level. We get to actually call the shots. We get to sign up to be the commissioner. We get to sign up to be the role that most resonates with what I do instead of just, something that was a little bit more specific at the time. And so you really got to see their personalities shine and you really got to see people participate in new ways. You got to see them say, you know what, I really vibe with that visionary engineer because I love to build things and I love to learn new things and apply them and create things and bring things into the world that didn't exist the day before, right? And so for me, it was like you had created this program and this structure and this way to channel not only who they are today, but who they want to be. You gave them the space to actually develop into more of who they want to be. So there was a student who said, hey, I want to refine my public speaking skills. And I think that this role of commission would be perfect for that. And she even gave background and said, this is who my mom is, this is who my dad is, this is what they taught me, the values that they instilled in me, and I know that this role is going to help me be everything I want to be for myself, but also just how I want to show up in the world.
Yeah,
And
I want to talk
yeah,
about that moment because honestly, like that moment was one of my favorite moments of the day, maybe of the entire time that we've been running the league and all the sessions. Maybe my favorite moment of the year. I don't even know how to quantify it, but just to like take a step back to really bring the audience in. Some of you know that I'm a big, big, big football fan. I'm definitely a big sports fan, but like football is life. Texan right here for sure, and also the fantasy football winner of our company. And one thing that's just known in sports leagues is like there's very few black owners. There's very few like female coaches. There's all of these like kind of disparities that are a microcosm for what exists in even like technology leadership, right? And so we basically said, hey y'all, here's the roles of who we are. We want you to come off mute right in the moment on this call and tell us which one of these roles resonate with you. So for me, I was like, all right, I know whoever speaks first is going to be saying something powerful because they have to be so inspired by it, right? And so for the audience, one of our league students by the name of Alana came off of mute as soon as we said who's going to talk first. And she said, hey, I want to be the head coach. I want to be the commissioner. And right there, I was shook because I was like, wow, we did something right when you have a female seeing herself as the head coach, because that's something that does not exist broadly in
that's right.
society, right? In our major sports leagues. And Kyrie's right. Like, that's everything she said. She's like, I want to pick up my public speaking skills. Here's who my parents are. Here's what they taught me. And here's why I believe that I can own this role. And she said it with the utmost confidence. So what excites me is like, oh my gosh, like we probably had like 4 to 5 kids, I think, step up and say they see themselves as head coaches. Again, one thing I want y'all to think about is these kids are from, rural Alabama and Georgia. Some of them are from Dallas, Texas. A lot of them, the socioeconomic status that's, ranging between all of them is so vast and so different. But like Khiry said, all of a sudden these kids are stepping up and say like, this is me. and they're hearing about roles that nobody's talking to them about. Nobody's saying, like, do you want to be a commissioner of a league or a head coach? No one's saying, do you
Right.
want to be a visionary engineer or an operator? That's not the language that they speak in. And not only did we tell them about the roles they could be, but we told them what made uh, the skill that was necessary for that role, right? And like what they would need to have and how that contributes to the team. And we even talked about what makes a great team, right? Like
Yeah.
the idea of building these dynasties and everything. So yeah, I just wanted to add that bit of color because that was literally one of my favorite moments, in the last 365 days is hearing Alana step up and say that.
Well, and I'll even say, like, in terms of the philosophies that we have, right? Like, we were able to see that real time in terms of leading from the front, leading from the back, leading from the sides, right? Like, they embraced the leadership that came in the role that they identified. So if they chose visionary engineer, it wasn't seen as less than or worse than any other role. It was just, hey, this is the skill set that I want to develop. This is what experience I have that makes me qualified for this. And it was just so powerful, right? That sense of ownership. It was something that they you could just tell that they weren't getting in their daily life, right? It was something that doesn't show up in school on a daily basis, something that doesn't show up in the communities. And we said, hey, we know that kids are always being told what to do, right? But now they're in a position where they're like, okay, I get to make decisions and I get to refine these abilities that are going to make me successful in the future. Like that, it doesn't get much more powerful than that.
And I love that. I was just telling them, like, for to be a part of a team, you got to give and receive feedback. Like, I'm really excited to see how these young kids grow with one another, like iron sharpens iron. So we're about to wrap up the Stemulated, and I just want to, like, add a couple of things here. So what happens next with these kids? Here's what I'm envisioning. They're about to go to training camp. The kids that said they wanted to be a head coach are going to be working alongside me to help, like, understand – about vision, mission, purpose, how you communicate that and how you drive for results. The operators are going to be working with the Felixes and the Kyries to understand like different systems that can be put in place and just build those like technical skills and the soft skills that they need to do what they need to do. And the visionary engineers working alongside like our AI team to start learning how to use AI tools in order to code games that they'll be eventually developing for their team. So what's the purpose of all of this? One, I'm recording this episode because I wanted to put it out in history so when we drop this, people know like where it started. We're taking something from 0 to 1. It's in our heads now, and it's going to blossom into the world. But the purpose of the league is for us to have teams across the United States and ultimately the world that are student communities that are all built around gaining skills and knowledge and competing based upon the skills and knowledge that you're gaining. And so these kids are going to be measured and they're going to be winning based upon how many other students they're recruiting into their own individual team and how actively engaged those students are in learning. And then we're going to be measuring that from how they're learning on Stemuli and the other skills that they're picking up. But what I'm really excited about is like these kids are going to be picking up their own swag, their own logos, their own team names. They're going to be defining the rules of engagement for their own team members, for what it's like to like really win in this world. And so for us, and what I'll continue to say is like, this is the next generation of esports. The league is going to drive knowledge and change culture, at least in America, around what learning and knowledge acquisition is all about. And I cannot wait for these kids to start commercializing their teams where they're getting sponsors, right? Like I'm like FaZe Clan, all this stuff that we've heard about, they've been on covers of magazines. These kids are going to change the world and they're going to have ownership in doing it. And as they gain sponsorship dollars, that's going to go towards them being able to purchase equipment they need to learn, putting money in their pockets, whether that's for savings to go to college or whatever else they want to do. But this is a big moment at Stemuli, and I wanted to bring the entire world in on it. We're moving in from 0 to 1. We went from a league and a student community where we were just giving and sharing feedback on product to now we're creating our teams. So if you have kids that you believe should join this student community, reach out to us and let us know. We imagine that millions of kids around the world will be engaged in the league, competing for knowledge. And we're just going to change the whole game because that's what we're here to do. Any last words from you, Khiry?
I think this is exciting, and I think this is exactly what's needed right now. I mean, there are clubs that exist, right, that kids have like at their schools if you find out about it and you can participate in it, but there's nothing like this. And so this is a special opportunity, and I want as many kids to get involved as possible.
Let's make it happen. Well, happy Easter Sunday to everybody. If you celebrate it, he is risen. That's a whole nother chapter we can go into, but we'll hold back on it. Maybe y'all get some more of that this week. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon.
Happy Easter. Bye, everybody.